Hello traders, here is my new short-term update on Bitcoin, and I wanted to go over a few possibilities that could happen in the next couple of weeks. If you trade Bitcoin, or you're thinking about buying it, you'll definitely want to watch this video. First, I will talk about the bearish possibilities which I noticed on this chart, and then I will walk through the short-term bullish possibilities. Let's start with the monthly chart. Like I mentioned 2 weeks ago, last month's candle closed as a strong bearish candle. We can now observe several important factors on this chart, so let's talk about the possible outcomes and what could happen next based on these signals. If you remember the 10-period simple moving average I discussed in the last video, that level has now been completely broken to the downside. This 10-period simple moving average is very important for Bitcoin's long-term direction. As you can see, every time Bitcoin has broken below the 10-period SMA, it has entered a multi-month bear market. So we need to pay close attention to this month's candle. If it breaks the low of last month with a proper candle break, Bitcoin could enter another multi-month bear market. That's why last month's low, around $80,700, is extremely important for us. It's still quite far from the current price, so Bitcoin would need to drop significantly to reach that level. Anyhow, if you are planning to invest on Bitcoin, keep your eye on it. Another thing I noticed with last month's candle closure is that the MACD indicator has formed a bearish cross. If you're not familiar with bearish crosses, when the blue line crosses below the green line, we call that a bearish cross. And when the blue line crosses above the yellow line, that's considered a bullish cross. If we go through the history of Bitcoin, in January 2022, a bearish cross happened, and after that, it has gone through a multi-month bear market. Again, in June 2018, a bearish cross happened, and Bitcoin went through a bear market. So we cannot be 100% certain that history will repeat itself this time, because Bitcoin's current situation is completely different from what we saw in 2022. We all know that in the last few years, Bitcoin has undergone major changes. Multiple countries have integrated it into their financial frameworks, and numerous hedge funds and Bitcoin ETFs have entered the market. So it might be different this time, but as traders and investors, we must consider every possible scenario, because our hard-earned money is our responsibility. My personal view is that even if the price rises, there is still a chance it could get rejected from the upper levels and come back down. Another possibility is that Bitcoin may consolidate around this zone for a longer period before deciding its next direction. That's what we can understand from the monthly chart. Now let's talk about the short-term bullish and bearish scenarios, and for that we'll walk through the weekly chart. We can see that Bitcoin has found support from 0.382 Fibonacci level. If somebody monitored this 0.382 level, he could have entered a nice long trade once it bounced from that 80,000 price region. There is a scenario where Bitcoin could rally toward the next major resistance, which sits at $100,000. However, for this move to be valid, we must first see a confirmed candle body break above the high of this week's candle. This purple line is the 50 simple moving average, and this green one is the 20 simple moving average. In the past, when these two made a bearish cross, Bitcoin usually dumped hard or entered a short-term bear market. When it happened in March 2022, price reached to there, and then it got rejected from that bearish cross area. What I noticed here is that a similar scenario might play out in the coming weeks. If these two moving averages are about to cross, the price may rise toward that level and then get rejected from the area where the bearish cross is likely to occur. So there is a real possibility that history could repeat itself. And remember, Bitcoin has shown this pattern many times before. As it stands, this potential cross aligns closely with the $100,000 resistance zone. So if you are a swing trader, keep your eye on these moving averages. You might even be able to spot rejections on lower time frames like the 1-hour or 4-hour charts and find a good swing trade setup. Another thing to consider is that we only have a few weeks left before this year's candle closes. If you remember from my previous video, I explained the 4-year Bitcoin cycle. If you haven't watched my last video about Bitcoin, I will explain it again here. This is 1 year time frame. You can see it has gone through nearly 3 year bull run, and after that, it has done 1 year bear market. As you can see, in 2015, 2016, and 2017 Bitcoin went through a strong bull market, and 2018 ended as a bearish candle. Then, in 2019, 2020, and 2021 price action has finished as bull candles, and 2022, it has ended as a bear candle. So if history is supposed to repeat itself, then we should expect another bullish candle for 2025. But right now, with the recent dump, this year's candle is currently trading as a bearish candle. So if the same 4 year cycle is going to repeat, we should ideally see a bullish yearly candle for 2025. The yearly open for 2025 is at $93,548. And before this year ends, I believe Bitcoin might move up slightly and close, at least as a small bullish candle to stay aligned with the historical 4 year cycle. For me personally, I'm not trading Bitcoin anymore. I'm more focused on Forex. But as a Bitcoin investor, I'm not planning to invest right now. I will wait a few more weeks and see how the market develops. I already have a few amount of Bitcoin in my savings pot, which I have been collecting since 2021, so I'm not bothered about it that much. However, if you are a swing trader, you can monitor the daily or 4 hour timeframes and look for short-term long trade setups toward the higher levels. I'm saying short-term because the market is already showing several bearish signs. So while the price may rise, the highest probability is that it will get rejected from the upper levels again. That's why it's not a wise decision for swing traders or investors to enter long positions aggressively at this stage. If we look at the daily chart, we can clearly see this resistance zone. If price breaks above this level, there is a very high chance that Bitcoin could reach $100,000 and possibly test this bearish consolidation zone here. So these are the two major resistance levels to watch. If price reaches this 100,000 resistance zone, you may be able to take confirmations on the lower timeframes and look for short trade opportunities. If we move to the 4 hour chart, I don't see anything significant for the long term, but short term they have tested this resistance zone few times, and let's wait and see what will happen within next few days. So my final thoughts are that Bitcoin may consolidate around this area for the next week, and toward the end of the year, it might rise again toward these resistance levels. These are the possible scenarios. No one can tell with 100% certainty what Bitcoin will do in the future. So always use stop losses and trade safely until I see you again with another Bitcoin update. If you want to learn trading and become a proper trader, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I will upload everything you need to become a successful trader. Okay, good luck everyone, and stay in touch.